All right, I'd like a motion to open the meeting.
Motion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
A roll call of our voting members, Kathy? Why don't we start with you?
Kathy Zarembo, COA.
John Farrar.
Damon Jesperson.
Cindy Currier.
And we have an esteemed and illustrious guest at the end of the hall who may or may not stay with us, Mr. Bill DeLeo from the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Mr. Jesperson.
I have to admit that over the weekend I had a lot of stuff on the farm and I did not finish scoring my matrix. So what I would like to do is review it if people have any questions. If you have done it, I can collect those and the notes, but I would rather not talk about it today because I don't want what you guys have written to influence my scoring. So that we have as impartial a gathering information as we can. So, are there any questions about the matrix, about the scoring process, or the like?
So I'm not sure I'm understanding it 100%, and before I pass ours in, I would like to just review it a little bit more. So when I am going through each of these, we have a page on each location. And then each matrix item, building size, parking, outdoor space, etc. I am looking at this map that we were given that shows the lots, and then it shows the actual potential building. So when I look at, say, the Kentway land over here near the library,
Yep.
and I look at this lot of land and a building on top of it, there's clearly enough space.
Yes.
And I'm trained by, right? So I'm weighting that as, or I'm scoring that as a 7. And then I'm multiplying it by 2 because we said building size is weighted.
It's twice, yep, so that
So
gets.
then it gives us a 14.
Correct.
When I look at this, based on the building size and the lot of land, I'm assuming there's plenty of room for parking. So I put that as a 7. So, and I went down, like outdoor space, there's plenty of room, it's a 7, right? But then I look at something like, if you look at, I think it's the Grange building, Grange Hall. So when I look at the map, if you put a building on there, there's not a whole lot of space left.
Correct.
So yes, I put 7 for a building, because the building can fit on there.
Yeah.
But a 1 for parking, there's no parking, a 1 for outdoor space, I can't go lower than 1, correct, because I won't. But other things, street access, yeah, it's a 7, it's right there.
Yep.
Access to utilities, I'm assuming, because it's right on Main Street, that there's access to, but I could be wrong.
Well, there's town water, but there's
No sewer.
septic. Sewer, there is a septic.
So, but is the septic, I mean, there's a building on there now, so I'm assuming there's septic on it, but would it,
Would it meet our needs?
right. So
So you can,
how do you score that? 'Cause I scored it as a 7, saying, yes, there is septic there, but there's septic there for that size building.
yeah, I think you can reasonably assume that given how tight this building is on that lot,
Yeah,
there's not also enough room for a septic system that would be sufficient for your needs.
so then would you score that a 1, a 2?
I would do between a 3 and a 4, because it has one of the
It has water, but not,
sewer, so it's 50% there. You could even do a 3.5, that would be okay.
So when there's a building like that, right, on say, okay, so this building here is on a lot of this land. We are thinking when they put this building in, that sewer system is for that size building,
Yes.
right?
And for that occupation and need. So, you know, the need of the fire station, even though it's a very big building, is a very small
Right.
septic.
Yes.
Whereas the need for you guys is a larger septic.
Or you're
Because-
saying like the BCAC who hosts an event once a week?
But
Yeah,
it can only host so many people.
Right, so there's a smaller amount of
it's a
people.
smaller building, and they have
Fewer restaurants.
they have 2 restrooms,
Right.
so their ability to survive on a older
Smaller.
septic system,
It's good.
they can make it work. Whereas for you guys,
Putting a building like this, that septic.
where you fill the whole lot with the building, there is no room for a septic system
At all.
at all. So,
What's there is probably non-Title V as
Yeah.
well.
so we can assume, we can't know for sure, but we can assume that putting in a septic system there would be almost impossible.
Okay.
Okay.
So then scoring like the old space at the Newbury Elementary School. So
What about it?
that's the thing, I put a 1 because it wouldn't
not
hold our
big enough.
building.
Yeah,
There's not enough parking, there's no outdoor space, but there's street access, access to utilities, I'm assuming, obviously, ease of finding and visibility, sort of, I guess that, I mean, I put a 7 because the building itself, it's easy to find, but people had trouble finding us all the time,
Yes,
so
it
I
is.
feel like that's probably lower.
yeah, so that would not be a septic, because unless it was, it's a
Up front.
standalone annex.
But we're talking about the old
In
space,
the old
in the old,
space.
yeah, so.
So that's a,
But can you even consider that, or are you just considering it as,
we're just putting the scores down, so we can say, this one is the top, and these are the reasons. We would never condone going back to this space, that'll be part of the report. But if we don't look at it, when we go before town meeting and talk about these things, people say, well, just go back to the school. And we have to be able to say,
is too
we
small?
looked at that. These are the reasons this does not work. And you have them right here.
Right.
It's too small.
No
It doesn't have good parking. It doesn't have good outdoor access space. So while it may still end up with a score that is
Decent,
decent, in the notes, we say, this is why this space is
alright, so
insufficient
then I
for
need
our
to fill in
needs.
my comments here.
Yes, the comments are vital for
Okay.
making it clear what is happening and why we're making our recommendation. Because, well, you got the COA ban, why don't you just do everything out of the ban? People will say dumb things like that. We don't have to address everything, but any of the things that we think are going to be asked and need to be explained in a very thorough way, we want to have on paper. So that it's not me just trying to remember off the top of my head why we said that was not a good idea
Alright, so if we can have a little more time then,
as well. That would be great. So, John, did you have any questions?
I get, the 2 waiting, I went down through each and every location, and I checked out the maps that Eric provided us, and there's only 1 7 on the page for me. Is that unusual?
The library? You mean 1/7 on the homepage for all of them?
on this whole page.
Yeah, Kent Way plus the library, that's it.
So the way I looked at it
It's the
was,
only one that has every measure that you're looking for.
So but we want to grade each
each item,
item individually.
I understand. I understand, and I have not gone down through and done the individual 1 through 9s, or only just by location. And I found myself way off the margin with the prejudice for Kent Way in the library.
Well, I think that's why we work on these things individually, so that
Yeah.
when Cindy says, well, I put it for a 7 because the building fit, you can say, well, I put it as a 5 because while the building fit, it's awkward and, and that adds nuance to the discussion that I think makes it a more valid discussion.
alright, so then what I'm doing is wrong, because I'm saying,
No.
yeah, the building fits.
You guys are each bringing your own individual perspective. And that's where the discussion comes in. So we do our homework individually. The reason that we don't do it collectively in a group is because I want John to say, well, yeah, it fits, but it doesn't make sense to me that way, and so I didn't score it as high. And you say, nope, by the books, the building's there, it fits. It's a 7. And that discussion makes the product stronger when we present the report going forward. So,
Well, for instance, looking at Kent Way, going down through a hypothetical, the comments would be, I have no negative comments regarding description. The element is parking 40 cars. In all honesty, I don't ever recall saying 40 cars visiting this location, this specific location.
On our major events, you would see that.
Okay.
So that's why I'm thinking that, because we have 5 to 6 major events every year.
Yep.
So having parking for those events, plus if I have more than one room that we can use, we can put more than one program on at a time, that
Yeah.
means more cars.
Okay.
So I think I just pulled 40 cars as a,
Well,
Standard.
even for our monthly luncheons, we can have 40 people.
but some of
But
them
that doesn't
are
mean
couples.
40 cars.
Right,
Yes.
but
And I counted the
What
spaces for the veterans meeting. I went out and I just stood there and I looked at the spaces. And there were 14 spaces right there. And there were 11 spaces here, that's 25. And then I saw that the Antico's parked down there were 4 cars down there. I've never seen, and that was a choked day. That was, you had 2 extra tables in here. And like you said, couples and drop-offs with the van.
That,
And then others, just people like Mark.
carpooling,
each other.
people carpooling, because I've had other.
Carpooling as well, and it just, the 40 cars just, I've never seen it. It's more like 27 to 28 to 29
I
cars.
would say Christmas, Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
and maybe St. Patrick's Day.
but those would be unusual, you'd have to announce, we're gonna need some carpooling on those perimeter days. But I mean, so that element, how would you rate it then? The score would be, hearing me saying that it's a perfect physical location, the Kent Way as well as library adjoining. What score am I giving it a 7, weight to 14, total 14?
For building size.
And then I come down to parking and I say probably a 6, with some commensurate missing, and I'd write down the occasional 4 events a year, we need more spaces than that. And yet, when you look at it, the spacing that's wasted there is when you look at the backstop in the ball field, there's about room for 9 or 10 spaces in that small sprint of land. And I don't know what's on the other side. When we walked it, it was inaccessible, and there's a quarry back there. You have to blow some stones up to build on it. And how would I then, commensurately parking, I would give it a 5 or a 6, and would I then give it a ×2, and that makes it 20?
so the only ones that have a weighting are,
That's why they were highlighted.
Okay, so the only weighting then is
Building size.
And I would, number 8, I would have to give it a 7 and a 2 again, or
It's,
Or
the
a
weight is
1.5.
1.5.
so that's a 7 times 1.5.
yeah, you are working on an old one, it should have come with the weights put on it.
I have it.
Okay, good, it is there. Sorry, I didn't see it because it wasn't yellow.
That's right, and so the element is, that would be 1.5 times 7.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, it just, the others are gonna be perfunctory, this one is.
Well, and that's the thing that like, he has the benefit of having walked that property, I don't have that.
I mean, I've walked it
That's
to the
mine.
point of going behind the field and finding a measured place for it, if not for some of the others, but you could go back in there and snowshoe. It's a wonderful walkabout. And if you can get the fire department to agree to a fire pit, there's room for a fire pit, and all the joy that brings. You put Adirondacks around a fire pit sometime, and that's 12 months a year. Evenings in the summer and winter for warmth.
Well, but that's covered under outdoor space, so what I'm not looking at specifics like that, I'm looking at, here's the property line these can fit in there, so it's okay that I'm doing it that way.
Am I overstating it for saying access utilities? I don't know what they are exactly, but patching in with the library already under full utility, why wouldn't that mirror 7 as well?
That's what I did.
Yeah, and then visibility and ease, my goodness, it's next to the library,
Right.
so that's another 7. Sewer and septic, is it sufficient, given the large number of people in the library at any one occasion, to give that a 7 as well? Is that reasonable?
I
I
did.
think there's enough space on the site that there should be room for a
And the cost of site is zip, other than the construction,
Yes.
because we own the square
Okay,
footage.
so when we say cost of site, that's the land itself, it's not the actual building?
Correct.
They're gonna buy
Then I need to
land or
look
not
at that,
buying
yeah.
land.
Right, so it's town-owned land, it's a.
And that was the
it's
other
gonna be
note I was gonna make, is we should all use.
No, the
pencil.
cost of site is a good, if it costs us nothing, it's a 7,
Because
because we own it already.
Right,
If we have to buy it, something like the Apple building,
then that's a 1.
that's.
whatever.
Yeah, especially if it's going to be overpriced.
So on a general basis, I've got 8 7s and 1 6. And the 6s, I think, needs an asterisk, because I think this.
Well, that's where your
Well,
comments
that's
go.
where the
Yeah.
comments,
Yeah.
so,
Understood.
okay. Well, I'm very sorry that I was not able to get it done, but it seems okay, because I think clarity, we've had some clarity.
And it needed some tutorial, and thank you for that. Because now we can go through and do this strongly. I tried to reach Eric over the weekend, he was not available, to say, look, you offered some wonderful insight and some weighting, but, help me think through how to do these several locations properly. And that's when I decided, if you asked me opening comments, that I'd say we need another week. And go from there. And we don't need to adjourn or join together to turn them. We can turn them into Cindy, and you can get a
Well, I think
package.
having the discussion so that if you write a note,
Okay.
we can say, we'll flesh it out and then it's on camera
Yeah.
and other people can review it.
Better method. You're right.
Yeah. I have all-day meetings on the next 2 Mondays.
When is our next COA meeting?
I don't have my calendar in front of
I
me.
thought it was the 19th,
I need to double check that.
but yeah.
Anyway, close to finishing Orchard Street.
In theory, they're paving it today.
Oh, good.
And then I believe it could be open as early as this afternoon.
5:19.
So I would propose that we have our meeting following the next COA, if that works for everyone. It doesn't, I'd hope to get the report put together for the meeting, but we'll just present in June,
What's the date again?
the 19th.
Oh,
May 19th.
May 19th.
At 9:30.
Okay. So you put hopefully in the book, I don't typically make any appointments on Monday because of HR and COA. I'll be away for 2 weeks in June.
Me too. Okay, so the next steps are to come back to this, fill them all out, and be prepared to talk at our next meeting. And our next meeting will be 9:30, May 19th. If I could get a motion to that effect.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you guys. I'm very sorry I was late.
No, no, understood.